OpenAI just cut the price of an output token by 90% at the low tier yesterday. Most operators still have not changed a single line of their API config. If you run any AI workflow that generates more than 10,000 outputs a month, your unit economics changed on July 30th and nobody told your bookkeeper. The window between a price cut and your competitors noticing is where the margin lives, right now. And the last thing in this video is a one-line config change worth more than the model swap itself. Let me walk you through what actually shipped. OpenAI released the GPT 5.6 family on July 9th. 3 tiers. Sol is the flagship, Terra is the balanced tier, Luna is the cost tier. Sol runs at $5 per million input tokens and 30 per million output. Terra sat at $2.50 in and 15 out. And yesterday, July 30th, OpenAI cut Terra to $2 in and 12 out. Then they cut Luna to 20 cents input and $1.20 output per million tokens. Read the number again, $1.20 for a million output tokens. 12 months ago, the same workflow ran you closer to $12 to $15 per million. Same job, roughly 1/10 the bill. Say you run a marketing shop that generates 500 product descriptions a day for e-commerce clients, 15,000 descriptions a month. Yesterday the pipeline was costing you real money every month. Today it costs 1/10. Your competitor down the road quoted the same client at your old margin last week. He does not know his pricing is now uncompetitive by 90%. Same story if you run a recruiting agency screening resumes, a real estate operator writing listing copy, or a support team drafting reply templates. Every one of those workflows was priced at 2025 rates on Friday and repriced overnight. None of this is theory. OpenAI put the price sheet up 24 hours ago. Now here is the part where every finance brain founder wants to rip Claude out of the stack and route everything to GPT. Do not do it. Sol, the OpenAI flagship, costs $30 per million output tokens. Claude Opus 5 costs $25. Opus is cheaper on output than the OpenAI flagship. The blanket switch is a trap. It costs you more money and it degrades the quality of the specific calls that customers actually see. I know operators who moved their entire stack to Sol in one afternoon because the release blog said cheaper across the board. They spent more, and their customer-facing copy got measurably worse in a week. The way most operators handle a model release is one of 2 ways. They freeze, because the last time they touched a prompt, something broke. Or they overcorrect and swap everything. Both are wrong. The correct move is a per workflow decision, not a stack-wide one. Fork the prompt on the specific workflow you want to test. Run 200 side-by-side calls on the new tier and the old tier. Compare the outputs before you touch production. The test costs under $5 on Luna, $5 to know whether your content workflow just got 10 times cheaper without breaking. Nobody does this. Everyone speculates about model quality on Twitter, and nobody spends $5 to actually check. So what actually moves where? I broke the split down for the stack I run, and the rule holds for every business I have looked at this week. Bulk work moves to Luna. Classification tagging, first draft content, summarizing a call transcript, extracting fields from a form, cleaning up a CSV of leads, generating alt text for product images, writing meta descriptions. Anything where the output gets touched by a human before it ships, or where a wrong answer is cheap. Luna. 20 cents in, $1.20 out. If you are doing this at volume, that alone is a quarterly bonus for whoever notices first. Mid-tier reasoning stays on Terra. $2 in, $12 out. If your workflow needs to think that the context fits under 272,000 tokens, Terra is your default. Comparing offers, extracting structured data from messy inputs, drafting a proposal from a scoping call, triaging support tickets by intent. Not flagship hard, not classification easy. Terra. Ship to customer output, the stuff a customer actually reads with your logo on it, stays on Opus 5 at $5 in and 25 out. Cheaper on output than Sol and better on the writing quality most founders care about. Sales emails to a prospect, the final polish on a landing page. Anything that lands in your customer's inbox with your name attached. The routing rule stops there. 3 lines. Nothing more complicated than that. Now let me show you the math on a real call I ran this morning. I fired a real content generation prompt through my terminal, then priced the same tokens across every tier in one shot. A stainless steel water bottle description, roughly the shape of a real Amazon deliverable. Cheapest option came in at a fraction of a cent per call on Luna. Same tokens on Sol. The OpenAI flagship came in higher than Opus 5. The routing table I printed at the end says it in one screen. Bulk goes to Luna, reasoning goes to Terra, customer facing stays on Opus, and in bold, do not blanket switch to Sol. The gap on a single call looks like nothing. Multiply it by the 10,000 or 100,000 calls a real content operation runs in a month, and you are looking at 4 to 5 figures of margin sitting on the table because your stack has not moved yet. If any of this is landing, hit subscribe and stay in the room, because the next 2 minutes are the part your competitors will pay to know. Open your OpenAI billing dashboard right now, pull the last 30 days of usage, multiply your total output tokens by $28.80 per million. The difference between what you actually paid and the number you get is what you would have saved by routing to Luna. That is the proof, not me telling you. Alright, the payoff. The thing nobody on your team is talking about, that costs you nothing to turn on, and that saves you more money than the model swap itself. Prompt caching. OpenAI charges you full price the first time your system prompt hits the model. Every subsequent call within the cache window, 30 minutes minimum, the cache portion of your prompt is billed at 10% of the standard input rate. 10%. 90% off just for having a static system prompt, which every real production workflow already has. Most operators are not using it. They have not flipped the config flag. Think about what your customer support bot system prompt looks like. 1,200 tokens of brand voice, escalation rules, refund policy, 3 example responses. Untouched since March. Every ticket pays for it fresh. 1 config line, not a rewrite, not a migration, not a new vendor. 1 flag. On top of Luna's 20-cent input rate that already cut you 90%, compound the two. Luna cuts your call to 1/10 of what a flagship would charge. Cache cuts the input portion of that call to 1/10 again. If your workflow is input heavy, and most content and classification pipelines are, you are looking at 100 to 1 improvement over what a lot of businesses were paying 9 months ago on a call that produces the same output. 100 to 1 is not a rounding error on the P&L. 100 to 1 is the difference between a marketing pipeline being a cost center and a marketing pipeline being a margin engine. One more thing while we are here. GPT 5.6 ships with a 1.05 million token context window at the standard rate up to 272,000 tokens. Gemini used to own the big context space. They do not anymore. In plain English, you can now stuff an entire product knowledge base, a 200-page contract, or a full customer conversation history into a single call and still pay the base rate. Workflows that used to need clever chunking, vector databases, and a developer to maintain them collapse into one prompt. Ask a business owner how much they pay their agency to keep that plumbing running, and you will hear the number. So here is the whole play in one paragraph. Luna for bulk, Terra for reasoning under 272K, Opus 5 for the customer-facing writing that carries your brand. Turn caching on for every workflow with a fixed system prompt. Fork the prompt, run $5 of side-by-side tests. Keep what works, roll back what does not. Push it this week before Anthropic and Google respond and normalize the rates, and you bank the delta as margin for the next quarter. The operators who move on the Monday after a price cut are the ones who own the window. Everyone else finds out in October when a competitor is quoting half your price and still profitable. If you want the routing spreadsheet I built for this, the $5 side-by-side test script, and the cache config change written out for whichever vendor you already use, all of it lives inside the Church of SEO Jesus. My free school community for founders and operators shipping AI into real businesses. Every prompt, checklist, and workflow from these videos is in there. Free to join, link is in the description and the pinned comment. Next video I am pulling the ad account of a real client, showing you exactly how we routed their content pipeline off flagship rates without their agency noticing, and what the invoice looked like before and after.